Hi everybody. So today was Sunday, the 10th of July, day 12 on my trainer's truck with Werner Enterprises. From a truck standpoint today, not a whole lot going on. This morning was very, very boring, basically. You know, no traffic. We actually deadheaded today on the outbound side. And just pulling an empty trailer across, and and then had a beer run on the way back. So not too major. Traffic was a little bit more heavy on the way back today. And just a quick note, it's safety week all across the nation. So be on the lookout for the popos. Just be careful out there. You don't wanna have any issues with that. So I am hoping that today's video is a little bit more concise because I made notes. Because I want to go a little bit different route today. Had a comment on yesterday's video from a guy. Shout out to a mofo. He is a new Swift driver, currently going through orientation. Hi out there. Good luck. But I just wanted to kind of go through a few things because he was saying that, he was with me on, some of the financial burden thing. He's a young kid in his 30s, and saying he's got a lot of debt and whatnot. And I'll start off by saying I am by no means a financial planner. Everything that I have learned, I've learned by being a fuck up and learning what not to do. So that's where all of this comes from. I have been reading a lot of material on financial knowledge base, financial goals, and things like that, and how to accomplish my financial goals. And one of the reasons why for that is because I have made a lot of financial mistakes in my life. I am on divorce number 3. Well, 2.5. First one doesn't really count as a full divorce. Because I basically got used to make a baby and then got ejected out. But in the course of trying to be involved in that child's life, I made a lot of financial mistakes. And so that's where a lot of this comes from. So I just wanted to put that out there first. Now, if you are tired of being in the financial state that you are in, so you got a lot of credit card debt or whatever, the very first thing that you need to do is have a come to Jesus meeting with your partner or your family. Okay, if you're single, don't have a partner, don't have a family, don't live with a family or anything, then you need to have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself. And in that meeting, so you need to do 3 things. You need to prepare for the meeting, you need to schedule the meeting, and you need to document the meeting. So in your preparation, you want to state out that you are done with your current situation. All right. State your goals. Okay. And start a path or document out what your starting path is to acquire those goals, and realize that your goals and your path may change. Okay, this is not a set and forget sort of thing. Okay, especially when you are trying to fix potentially decades worth of being a fuck. It didn't happen overnight. It's not going to fix itself overnight. But you can make the decision that you're going to stop with the fuck ups and you are going to go in the right direction. Second thing you need to do is you need to schedule that meeting. Actually schedule it for a time where you can get rid of all distractions. If you have kids, send them off to grandma and grandpa's. Turn off that damn TV, turn off your phones. Give your partner and the meeting your 100% undivided attention. And then you need to document it, okay? And there's two levels of documentation here. There's the pre-documentation and the post-documentation. The pre-documentation is you're writing out everything you want to discuss in that meeting. And then you're going, during the meeting, document things that were done in the meeting, that were gone over in the meeting, and document your plan together. Now, with that said, you have to, this is part of getting control of the current situation. If you have a partner that is not on board and refuses to get on board, that's a problem. That's a massive obstacle. Your partner, they need to be willing to make the sacrifices that are necessary to make the goals happen. And it's not a lifetime sacrifice. All right. Once you get to a point where you're starting to go up, you're going to be in the habit of being smart with your money and being smart financially. So it may take 2 years, it may take 5 years, it may take 10 years. However long it takes, once you get through that initial steps, you're going to be able to have the more, you're going to have the ability to have the lifestyle you want. And it just takes some work to get there. Now your partner, through this process, your partner has to be on board with change. They have to be on board with either helping you to lower expenses or increase income, or both. It doesn't have to be both. It can be one or the other. But the easiest way to get a pay raise is to lower your expenses. That's the easiest way to give yourself a pay raise. And then, after you've had that meeting and, you've got to get control of the situation. Very first thing that you do in that situation is you take every credit card you have and you shred it. You cut it, you shred it, you burn it, whatever. Stop using them right now, before you even start tracking your money. All right, take every credit card, get rid of it. Okay. You don't absolutely need credit. However, but if you do need credit down the road, first thing you need to do is get a better relationship with credit. And that's one where I've not had a good relationship with credit. So, this is as much for me as it is for anybody else. So after you get that, that's the very first thing of getting under control, is to stop using credit. Stop putting yourself further into debt. Then take your last month's bank statement. Okay. Track every recurring transaction, and then track every non-recurring transactions. And you want those in two separate lists, because your recurring transactions are going to be things like your rent, your utilities, your car payment, your insurance, your luxuries, things like that. So once you have all of that going and you get an idea as to what is a monthly recurring, what is non-recurring but it's still going out. And the non-recurring that are still going out, those are going to be things like your gas station trips, your your cigarettes, your food, your going to Target to buy something that you don't need but you think you need, things like that. And once you have all of that, you can kind of start seeing where your money is going. And you have to break it down into a couple of categories. So you have your necessities, and necessities, you're looking at your home, which includes your rent, utilities, and whatnot, transportation costs, your car payment, car insurance, gasoline, car maintenance, and then your food and medical. And then you look at your debts. That's your credit cards, loans, anything like that. And then you're looking at your luxuries, which are, wants instead of needs. That would be your Netflix account, your Amazon account, your cable, satellite, things like that nature. And this is where you start going through and going, what is an actual need? What is a debt? And then what is a desire? What is a want? All right. Now, your goal is to get out of debt. Here's a few things that you can think of, that you should think about in that process. Look at your needs, okay? One of the needs is 4 walls, all right? Do you have too much house? Do you have too much apartment? Because that happens a lot. That happened to me. We bought too much house. We bought the house when I was making 6 figures, and then COVID hit and my pay dropped 40 to 50%. So, we had too much house for the amount of money that I was making after COVID hit. I know right now rent is stupidly high, which is one of the reasons why I decided after this split that I was going to be effectively homeless for a while, because I didn't want to pay for 2 whole households when all I need is a place to sleep and eat. There's no sense in it. Food. You should not be eating out all the time. You need a food schedule. All right. Make a weekly food menu. That is the easiest way to curtail food costs, is to know what you're going to have throughout the week. That way you can shop for what you need and only what you need, and you're not going chaotic and you're not buying too much food. You're not buying crap food. And let's say you're in a household and you've got a spouse and 2 kids. All right. You've got a food menu. Okay. Let's just say for this example that your spouse is a stay-at-home parent. That food menu allows you some flexibility with food management. And it allows you more flexibility with food management. Let's say, you're in a situation, and right now you're like I was, and you would just buy meat and buy sides and buy stuff to go with the meat, but you had no real plan as to what you were buying because you didn't have a food schedule. And then your spouse, God love her, she'd get meat out. She'd have all these grandiose intentions, but nothing was documented, nothing was scheduled. So the meat, by the time you get home, they're tired because, being a stay-at-home parent is a stressful job. But it is a job, a very important one, but they're tired. They've had a long, stressful day. All right? Just because they're the stay-at-home parent and they're the head motherfucker in charge of that household does not mean they have to do all the work. If they have it scheduled and documented, then anybody who is capable of doing that work, say, making tacos or, making whatever is on the schedule that night for food, that food's not going to go to waste now because that other person can pick it up and go, hey, I am not creative with food. I can't cook very well, but I can follow instructions. Here's the instructions. Here's what needs to be made. I'll see you in an hour. Okay? That should not be something that is looked down upon, of having a schedule for food. That is something that helps everyone out in the household because it is scheduled, it is documented, it is recipeed. Anybody who's capable of following directions can now make that food. If there is no schedule, if there is no recipe, if there is no documentation, then a lot of instances, the person who's been out of the house working 10 to 12 hours that day is not going to have the brain power to come up with something, especially if they're not very good, especially if they're not a very good cook. So you've got that. Now, one of the things that a lot of people waste so much money on is transportation. Do we need a car in America? Yes, we need a car in America. Do you need a car with a $600, $700, $800, $900 car payment? Oh, hell no. Now, a lot of what I have been reading and studying, I've sourced from places like Dave Ramsey. This is one where I somewhat disagree with Dave Ramsey on. He is like, no car payment whatsoever. Well, I have 20 years in the automotive service industry. The days of finding a $500 car and putting $1,500 into it to get it back on the road and to get it safely back on the road are almost completely gone. It's not impossible, but it's almost impossible. You need to find the cheapest vehicle that fits your 90% need. You have a wife and 2 kids, you need a minivan. You don't need a brand new flashy minivan. You need a 7 to 12-year-old minivan. Toyota, Honda, Chrysler. Stay away from that old of a Hyundai or Kia, and stay away from that old of a Nissan or a Ford or a GM. If you're looking at that old, Toyota, Honda, then Chrysler. And the reason why for the Chrysler is because of just how many there are on the road. They're easy to get parts for, they're easy to work on, they're easy to fix, they get good gas mileage. Stow and go is a lifesaver. You don't need that pickup truck that looks all flashy if it's costing you $900 a month. You don't need that Harley Davidson that's all flashy if it's costing you $600 a month. The truck can be replaced with a minivan The Harley Davidson can be replaced with a Kawasaki Vulcan. Okay? The minivan actually does the vast majority of the job that the average family needs better than the pickup truck at a significantly lower cost of ownership. Who cares what it looks like? You're trying to get out of debt. You're trying to prepare for your future and your kids' future. You don't need a truck 90% of the time. When you do need a truck, rent one. The Kawasaki does the same exact thing as a Harley Davidson, and it does it for a third of the price because it doesn't have the overhead price that a Harley Davidson does, just because it's called a Harley Davidson. Touched on food, touched on transportation, touched on four walls. Now you need to look at your recurring debts, your credit cards, your loans, and whatnot. So what you want to do is you want to list every single one. You list them by how much you owe on it, and then you list the minimum payment for each. And right now, you're just paying the minimum payment because you're about to change how you use your money. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to pay yourself first. Okay? When you signed up or you're working with a company, absolutely from the get-go, sign up for the 401k and put in at least the minimum necessary to get the maximum company match. Okay? If you're not, you're throwing money away. Because what that does, that does two things. Number one, that lowers your tax burden. Number two, that company is investing in you, in your retirement. That's free money. Okay? You might have to be with that company for a few years before it's fully vested. And what that means is, so in simple terms, when you are with a company that has a 401k, the money that they match is not considered vested, which means it's not entirely your money yet for a certain amount of time that you've been with that company. So a lot of times it's a year or 2 years to be with that company. So if you change companies, yes, you can roll over your 401k. And I'm not 100% sure on this. I know for withdrawals, you can't take it out for like either a loan or a withdrawal until it's fully vested. But what I can't remember right offhand is whether or not it transfers when you do a 401k rollover. I've never done a 401k rollover because I've never had enough money to bother with that. Because I was stupid and I never did a 401k because I'm like, why do I need to worry about my retirement? I'm 20 years old. You need to worry about your retirement now. Right now. Anybody that sees this, if you're over the age of 16, you need to be thinking about your end game now. Because that person that starts saving and investing money at 18 has a massive leg up on somebody who waits until they're 30 or 40 years old. Okay, you're throwing away money for down the road because you don't want to work your whole life. So that's the first thing. Minimum contribution to your 401k that gets the maximum amount of contribution from your employer. On top of that, I personally recommend a 5% of your income investment for every single person in your household. A separate account, long-term investments for every single person. Now, pot kettle, I've literally only started this in the last week. I am almost 42 years old, and I've literally only started this in the last week. And it wasn't even 5% on this check. It was literally $5 on this check for myself and for my daughter. But you got to start somewhere. You know, I had 25 years as an adult of nothing but financial fuck ups. All right. You might be in that same situation. You start small. That's fine to start small, but start doing it, and start doing it now. Now, I'm using Acorns. This is not sponsored by Acorns. Nobody's sponsoring me. I have 9 subscribers and, you know, probably only 2 people that actually watch any of this. But you can use Acorns, you can use Robinhood, you know, you can use your bank, you can go to an investment bank, whatever. I use Acorns because it's the one that I could think of off the top of my head and remember from advertising that I've seen. Now, after you have paid yourself, you need to pay your 4 walls. All right? The necessary items on the 4 walls is rent/mortgage, utilities, which your utilities are your electric, gas, and water. And that's your necessities. Okay? Your walls, your utilities. Okay? Your rent and utilities. That's all that is necessary. Okay? For your 4 walls. Then food. Okay? You need to have a food budget, and you need to buy your food. Because what good are 4 walls if you're starving to death? Okay? I know I touch on food a lot. I grew up poor. I started working when I was 11 years old. And I wasn't able to fully spend my 11-year-old money on 11-year-old things. I grew up in a household with a actively mentally, emotionally, and physically abusive mother who was passively suicidal, and then a absentee father for the first 14 years of my life. He was in the military, and from the time my brother was born in 1982 until like 1992, he was deployed almost 9 years. So, and come to find out later in life, it was because he did not like my mom. And I don't blame him on that. You know, at one point he tried to leave her. They were going to stay married so that her and us boys could get the benefits from the military. But when they got transferred from Virginia, back to San Diego, where they were from, the plan when they got in the car in Virginia was that they were going to get a house or an apartment in San Diego, and mom and us boys were going to live there, and then dad would go off and do his thing. Because, you know, my parents made a poor decision in getting married in the first place. And, you know, somewhere in that 3,000-mile trip, they decided that they weren't going to split and that they were going to stay married. They did end up separating when I was 30. But I am a product of a staying together for the kids, and God love my ex, thank God. Her and I agree on the whole, that's a bunch of bullshit. Because when you stay together with somebody for the kids, you end up hurting the kids because you have so much stress in the relationship that you can't parent well together. And while right now, me and my daughter's mother are not doing great with parenting together. We've got the stress of trying to keep a relationship together gone, and we're actually have started talking as parents, and it started to be able to talk as parents and work on that. So, it's been a rough 3 months, 3 months. Oh hell no, it's almost 4 months. I can see the baby steps of it coming out of the hole. Now, if you are single or you are divorced or separated or whatever, and you are a new truck driver, I would highly recommend deleting the four walls. You're a new truck driver. A hotel room once every 6 to 8 weeks is a hell of a lot cheaper than rent and gas and electricity and water and property taxes and HOA fees and all of that. So I would consider living in the truck if that is a possibility for your household situation. And then, I already touched on, get a car that fits your 90% need, that is, good on fuel, has enough space for everybody. 90% of families out there need a minivan. They don't own a minivan, but they should own a minivan. And this is coming from a hot rod guy, all right? It's also coming from somebody who's been in the automotive service industry for Ford, Nissan, and Chrysler for 20 years. SUVs, absolutely garbage. You don't need all-wheel drive just because of snow. Unless you live in the mountains or whatever, you get feet of snow at one time, yeah, okay, then all-wheel drive. But there are all-wheel drive minivans. I know Toyota has one. Chrysler has one, but not in their older ones. It's in the newer Pacifica. So that kind of defeats the purpose on the Chrysler side. I don't know about Honda. I know Nissan did not have one. Ford and GM kind of did on their mid-size vans back in the day with the Aerostar and the Astro vans. But, they don't even, Ford and Chevy haven't made a minivan in 10 years. So, they're not non-existent, in my opinion. And you don't want to get an old one, on either one. If you can't find a minivan, there are a couple other options. You're looking at any GM vehicle with the 3800 Series 2. So 99 to 2005 Chevy Impala, Pontiac Grand Prix, most of your Buicks of that era, all of those. That is the best domestic 6-cylinder engine ever, the 3800 Series 2. That is a 300,000 to 400,000 mile engine. Transmission is a little weak, but it's cheap to fix. There's millions of those cars over there. They all used the same transmission. It doesn't matter if it was a Chevy, a Pontiac, a Buick, an Oldsmobile. They all used that same transmission. They don't cost an arm and a leg to rebuild. Parts are very, 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 very plentiful. And if you go and the best ones to buy is to look for an estate sale with somebody that died that had like a Park Avenue or a LeSabre or something. The Park Avenue is the biggest of them. It had a little bit longer of a wheelbase. But any of them, our parents didn't have minivans. Our parents didn't have SUVs. They had 4-door sedans or station wagons. You don't need an SUV. The minivan is the station wagon is our generation's station wagon. But you can get by with a sedan. You can get by with a Crown Vic. You can get by with an Impala. This is all about lowering your cost of ownership in a vehicle. Get one that is easy to work on, is simple. Okay, all these electronics and everything on these new cars cause more problems that you have to fix. All right. For example, you take the heated seats on a 2002 Buick LeSabre. That electrical circuit to control those heated seats is a simple electrical circuit. It does not go through a computer. It has a temperature sensor on there that kicks it off, and it has a relay and a fuse and the switch. That's it. On a new car, you push that button, you're telling a computer to turn on that relay. Chip shortage. Cars are being built right now that have the heating pad in the seats, that have the switch in the dash, but the computer isn't there, so it can't turn on the heated seats. Windows now go through a computer. It's not a simple electrical circuit anymore. Okay, so what you're looking for, if you want a simple, low cost of ownership vehicle, you want a GM with a 3800 Series 2. You want a Ford product with the 4.6 liter module, 2-valve modular V8, basically a Crown Vic, Mercury Grand Marquis. I would stay away from the Lincoln Town car, even though it is a Crown Vic in a tuxedo, but the Town car has air suspension on it, which is really expensive to fix, and it's even expensive to switch it over to a spring. It's not a difficult job, but it's about a $700 or $800 kit to do it. But the Crown Vic, again, millions of them out there. It's a 400,000 to 500,000 mile car, and obviously you've got your Toyotas and whatnot. You really need all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Go get a 4Runner from the late 90s into the mid to early 2000s. Those are a little bit more expensive right now. I've actually been looking for one myself, and for a halfway decent one, from a body standpoint, you're looking at a $10,000 to $15,000 right now, because that era, the late 90s to about 2008, 2009, again, that's a 400,000 to 500,000 mile vehicle, especially with the V8. So that's kind of where you need to go. You give yourself a raise by lowering your expenses. If you are struggling with debt and you have a more than $300 a month car payment, you need to sell that car and get something else. Stop adding to your debt. Oh, as far as other luxuries and whatnot, so Netflix, Amazon Prime, cable, satellite. You don't need cable or satellite. Okay. Now, I say this as somebody who only watches maybe 50 to 100 hours of TV a year. That's it. That's all I care about. If that. Like, so far this year, all I have cared about is The Boys, Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and The Orville. It's 4 shows. 10 episodes each. So that's 40 hours. Okay? That's all I've cared about. Most of the rest of my entertainment that I do is in either gaming or right now is YouTube or reading. So, look at all your stuff. If you've got Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, what are some of the other ones? Disney, Peacock. If you've got Yellowstone. I forgot about Yellowstone. If you've got all of those, you're, not only if you're, paying for cable, You're paying for internet. Right there, that's at least $200 a month. And then you're adding all these other things, and yeah, it may be only $10 a month for each one, but if you got 5 of them, that's $50 a month. Pick one, maybe two. I do recommend Amazon, because the nice thing about Amazon is you can go through and buy the seasons of other shows through Amazon. But another thing you can do, multiple email addresses for free trials. You wait for the show you want to watch to get done. Free trial. Watch it in the first week. Make sure you cancel it, and then you're done. Okay? It's a little bit of a hack there. Besides that, that's kind of your starting point right there. Look at your needs. And if you're trying to get out of debt, the easiest way to give yourself a pay raise is to lower your expenses. If you gotta have that truck, see if you can refinance it. With the way car prices are right now, refinancing might be an option. But again, seriously consider if you're thinking with your crotch instead of your brain. Don't think with your crotch when it comes to your finances, especially if you're in debt, because you go through, you sell that big old shiny truck, you sell that Harley Davidson, you get yourself a minivan or an older sedan, and you get yourself a used Kawasaki Vulcan. Those two vehicles do everything that shiny truck did and that Harley Davidson did. They do it for less money. They let you get out of debt faster. They let you save up money so you can get it. So in the long term, you can have the nice shiny truck. You can have the nice shiny Harley Davidson, and you can have it without debt. That's the thing. Do it without the debt. So if you have to finance it, you cannot afford it. Don't go financing a $3,000 couch when a $300 couch from IKEA does the same thing. May not be as pretty, may not be as comfortable. But you're not financing it. You're not spending $300 a month for 2 years to pay off a couch that's gonna break in 6 months anyway if you have kids and dogs. All right? You want to spend an ungodly amount of money on furniture? Go get Amish furniture. That stuff is not going to break. That stuff is actually worth the money. You go to a furniture store, that shit's crap. Ask me how I know. Oh, wait. It's because when we bought our house, we went to a furniture store and we bought that $4,000 couch and we bought that $4,000 kitchen table. Okay, $2,000 kitchen table. And, I'll give it on the kitchen table. I really loved the aesthetic of that kitchen table. Wasn't worth the money, though. But the couch, $3,000 couch, and was broken in 6 months. And, that's what happens when you have kids. You don't buy nice furniture until the kids are gone. That was something my parents did teach me. That was a positive. You don't buy nice furniture until the kids are gone. So that's pretty much all I've got for right now. Also, always feel free to like and subscribe and give me comments and stuff. I know this is pretty long, but I feel I hope it was educational. And not sounding too preachy, because I do want to note that a lot of this stuff I am somewhat hypocritical on, or have been hypocritical on, but it's all things that I am now working towards. as I am tired of the cycle. I'm breaking the cycle. I'm doing everything I can so that my daughter does not even start the cycle. So keep the shiny side up.